Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
On this episode of Real Estate on the Rocks, I'm joined in the studio with Marshall Tucker and James, the new guy, Mendez.
What's going on, James?
What's going on?
And I'm Dave Snowberger.
All right.
Here we go. All right. So today we're talking a little bit about thinking of going to 100% brokerages. I'm seeing this a lot. You know, it's we pay a lot of attention to the Facebook world, and we're a part of probably too many Facebook groups. I would honestly say. You know, there's the Lab Code agents, I believe. You've got new real estate agents. You've got the next level guys. You've got everybody out there. We've got a little one called not a little one. It's a decent size. Top Shelf Agents Network. So opinions. Everybody's out there, and someone mentions, especially on the new. I don't know what it's called, but new realtors Facebook page. That thing grew exponentially. Like that thing was gangbusters overnight. Like I was a part of it when it was like 300 people. And the next thing you know, like a month later, it was 30,000 people. It was insane. Way to grow that one, whoever runs that page. And then I believe the Lab Coat guys just crossed 100,000. Super proud of Tristan and those guys over there. That's some pretty big baller shit right there. 100,000 people in your group.
Impressive.
I don't know how you do it and maintain selling real estate, because all the stuff we have juggling seems to be pretty hard. However, one question we always see out there is brokerages. And I see this pissing contest between Keller Williams and EXP happen constantly. And we're not going to talk about that. You know, we're not going to talk about which brokerage is better. They both model, they've got very big similarities through the two of them. And we're going to leave it at that. But I want to talk to you about thinking of going to 100% brokerage. The questions you need to ask as a new real estate agent / realtor. What are those questions? What could be better qualifying questions to see if you're in the right spot? You know, I mean, in my opinion, some of the big brokerages, Keller Williams has great training for newer agents coming in. EXP has great training. However, you have to be more
seasoned, more tech savvy. Well, kind of. You just have to go to a different place. You're not going to be physically there for the training.
Disciplined is what I was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be more disciplined that you are going to actually buckle down and work from home. So there's two types. I can't work from home. I've tried it. And I just sit around in my undies all day long.
I try it too, and Dave won't let me.
Yeah, and texting on my phone. And I see Marshall's productivity is like a lead bomb, you know, just kind of like, just kind of stops. And like 3 months later, he's like, can I come back to the office? I got nothing going on. You know, market's dead. Damn millennials. Open doors, taking all my
leads are bad.
I can't do it. Yeah, it's the leads. It's always the leads. Blame the leads. It's you. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about some questions to ask brokerages when you get into them, because there are other brokers out there than the top five. You know, there are other brokers that might fit your personality, that you might mesh with their culture better, that might have a better training process or a mentor process for you. You know, there's a lot of options out there for you in the brokerage world. And so let's talk about those. You're sticking up your hand. Who was that?
I don't like the fact that and I've had this pet peeve for a while, we mentioned it, is the 100% brokerage. It's never 100%. It's
99%.
It's... Well, maybe
not even.
You can't say, and because they'll qualify. Every time I've seen someone, you need to go with somebody who's 100%. Like, oh, you keep everything? Well, no, you have to pay for this, and there's this fee, and there's that fee, and there's this fee. It's like,
I see those people all the time.
So it's not 100%.
Some obscure dude that just doesn't sell anything was like, I left the big Broxes and I do 100%, and I keep 100% of my commission. What's your transaction?
If they're paying 100%, how are they making any money?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's get into it. That's the whole premise of this thing. Like, oh my God, Marshall. It's groundbreaking stuff.
A bait and switch. It's a complete lie. Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But we'll break it down.
All right. So here we go.
I'm interested.
All right. We'll break it down.
First initial question in true Real Estate on the Rocks format here, like a couple of dopes running the podcast over here. So if you pay me 100%, how does your brokerage make money?
They pick you apart with fees, which makes it not 100%.
Nickel and dime you.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Is there a dork fee?
That's James. He's free. Is there a desk fee?
I did not write that.
Officing fee.
Oh, it's desk fee. It looks like it says dork, doesn't it? Oh my God.
I'm not an English professor.
Yeah, or whatever.
Whatever that is.
So is there a desk fee? And so here's some good questions to ask this brokerage after you get past the first question of, if you pay me 100% of my commission, how does the brokerage make money? Right? No one's doing charity work. There's brokers just not opening up to just run a charity nonprofit for you so you can make 100%. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Even if they run slim margins, let's find out where they get that money from. And so one of the first things you can ask is that if you do work out of the building, if you do work out of a brick and mortar brokerage, what is the desk fee?
Yeah, they call that a tech fee too, I think, don't they?
No.
Nope.
Desk fee. Is that a tech fee too?
Nope. Two different things.
I don't
wow.
know.
They're
I don't know
adding up
much about-
faster than I thought.
Yeah.
Paying the fees, there's nothing wrong with paying the fees. It's understanding what the cost of doing business is going to be. So don't be influenced by, and that's one of the, why I dislike the name of 100% brokerages, because it's disingenuous. You're not telling people, especially new agents, the entire scope of what it's going to cost to run the business, what it costs you to run your business, the brokerage, and in turn is going to cost them to run their business in it.
Well, a lot of times, I mean, I guess new people coming into our business, or maybe even people have been a couple years and they were with a brokerage that was charging them a monthly fee up front. They decided to hop over to a 100% brokerage because they weren't doing that many deals. And so the deals that they were keeping, or they were doing, were a little bit higher. There was no upfront cost, so it alleviated to the back end cost. I know that my old broker was, yes, I was on a 70-30 split when I first started, but after all these fees, even a 70-30, I would take home right around 60%. So there was about 10% of hidden fees in there, you know. And so I learned quickly that. We were never going to get to a point to where I was going to be making more than 70-30. And even if I got to where I sold enough to where they had a bridge to where I could go to 80-20, then I would be maybe at a true 70-30. And then when I crossed that other bridge, at the 90-10, which rarely anybody out of a company of 500 plus people rarely ever achieved, because the sales were set so high.
Yeah.
The standards were set so high that nobody ever got there. Then I might be to 80-20. And so for 2 years, giving up 40% of the money that I was bringing in with not a ton of value. If there was value there, I could speak something different.
That's one of the keys.
Of course, I have to cover my ass since I'm a team leader. But you get what I'm saying. So is there a desk fee? Now, necessarily, I didn't have a desk fee. You're right. They did label it at that old brokerage. And this isn't Keller Williams. I'm not talking about Keller Williams before I left there and went to EXP. Is the desk fee was labeled as, you're right, Marshall, it was a tech fee. It was a tech fee, an admin fee, and then mailings, everything else. So they would give us mail outs, privileges,
printer copies,
copies, things like that. At the end of the month, it would just apply to the bill. And, I didn't know that I was paying a pretty much, 60 cents or 40 cents.
I didn't know color copies cost that much more than black and white.
Wow. And I would get gouged on that, like $280 in color copy fees and things like that. So I went out.
So I learned someone else's code very quickly.
Yeah, right? You're like, yeah. What's the last 40 of your social?
And so your life.
There's another one right there is one of the next ones is E&O insurance, errors and omissions, right? And typically not a lot of us know the definition of that. You're like, what is the errors and omissions? You can go with the title, and it's for errors that possibly happen in a transaction you're with and the omissions, right? And so that's typically a fee that's put on every single transaction you do. That fee never really goes away with the brokerages I've been with. I don't know about, I can't speak to some of the bigger box brokerages, whatever else. So I knew that thing, no matter what I sold, never went away. It was always there. And at the time it was like $90 a deal, and so $90 a deal is expensive. And so from how I understand it, when I left, I kind of found out later on, now I know what I know, right? And I know how much for a brokerage, like E&O as a whole cost through the whole, for the whole office, what they pay a month or what they pay a year for the policy. And you break it down, it's like, oh my gosh, the brokerage is making money off this. If they're at scale and they have 500 agents that are all doing one deal a month at $90 each, right? I mean, do the math on that. More than likely, not all brokerages with 500 people are all doing 90, but we can certainly head down to like the 80-20, right? And so what's that look like? And so you can see that after a year of collecting E&O fees, that's how these 100% brokerages are making money. They're not going to give you free E&O insurance. No. That's for sure. Training typically, I know that when I first joined Keller Williams, I had a little bit of experience. And so they said, hey, you can go through this training program. It's only $300, right? And I'm like, well, I thought I was recruited on the fact that it was free for one, and two, I don't really need it. However, I went back and did it later on. I actually became an instructor for the same program, which is called Ignite through Keller Williams. Yeah, I've been an instructor with them before I left and joined EXP, and I had been an instructor, and so I knew that they were charging a fee to a lot of the newer agents coming in. However, it was put out there that it was, if they had low recruiting numbers or anything like that, a lot of times they could adjust, and say, hey, it's $300. I can't afford that. That team leader of that certain market center office could say, okay, I'll get rid of that fee. However, I knew people that had paid it, and then they were in a point in time to where when you're starting out in real estate, everybody's got their hand open, right? Yeah.
I remember starting, and it was to get my license. I had to pay for the classes, and I sat down, and they're like, well, now you're going to take this training. It's $300.
Right.
And here's your first month tech fee. It's $150, but all the ones after that will be lower.
$75.
And then, and here's your coach. She's going to help you get your first couple of deals, and she's going to take some money out of that.
She's going to take 10% of each deal.
Yeah. So it's like, wait a minute. I haven't done anything yet, and creeping into my second month, and I already owe all these bills.
Yeah, and
all these bills.
And I'm already in the hole, and so that's another thing right there. Was so we've got E&O training and then leads. I know the company that I talk about in the past, not Keller Williams. One of my first brokerages I was with, that if they procured the lead, they had a pretty powerful website, and they procured the lead. That was considered, air quotes, a relo lead, which means relocation lead, right? And so that came from the relocation department. And right off the bat, they would nail you for 50-50, and then you paid your splits off the 50.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That hurts.
So you're netting about 30%, or you're grossing about 30% right there after your split. Right. And so that was just kind of like left me scratching my head. It's
Might as well
okay,
stick
great.
to leases.
Yeah. And so the reload department gives you the referral. Basically, you sign the agreement, you sign off that you're going to work with this person. And they were pretty good leads. They did usually pan out, to where the people were either buying or selling. However, it was the amount that you gave up to work with them. And at first, when you were first starting out, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the first maybe 6 months to a year to get the experience to go out on some of these leads. However, you couldn't get those leads until you were at least, had sold some things and can prove that you could handle those leads, and you were a quote unquote, once again, a closer. Yeah. Able to work those leads. So those came at a pretty big detriment. Well, there's another one right there. That's how your 100% brokerage is going to pay you on anything you bring in, but anything they hand you is going to be a bigger split. And so transaction fee for clients. What does that mean? I know that there's a brokerage out there that's named after a certain, they were named after a magazine, but a good company. I'm just jacking with them a little bit, but we've got some friends that work over there. They love it. But they were talking about the transaction fee is that when they go out, they have the listing fee, which is 6%. Then each contract on it has a separate $350 fee that's explained that takes care of pictures. It takes care of the person to, basically upload it in, and there's this fee. But it's the agent's discretion or not whether they want to
eat it or pass it on.
Right, eat it or pass it on. And so I know that the one friend I have over there that does a lot with Better Homes and Gardens just came up with a better way to sell it. He was sick of eating it and was just a better way to sell it. And this is what it is, and provided value for it. So I'm sure that took him a couple years to get that, to convey that message to his seller of why that fee was in there. Office supplies. So office could be the kind of the same thing as the desk fee, right? Mm-hmm. So I know that at KW, I rented an office, and it was quite expensive, but it was the biggest office in the Keller Williams. It was about, which I say biggest office, it was like less than 300 square feet. Yeah. But it
had windows.
And, it had windows and everything else, but it came at a cost, right? It was $900 a month. Yeah. And so, that's just because it's a prime location, and it's market rent for any office. It's actually cheap rent for that size office that was located in Austin, Texas, in Northwest Austin. So it was a good deal. I never really complained about it very much. However, our office now is 3 times the size. No.
I think it's more than 3 times.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more.
It's about 7 times the size. We have a studio. We have a green room. Everybody has their own individual office. We've got a great lobby where other agents that are coming in to interview with us to join the team, or to our guests on the podcast come in, and it's just a.
We had guests from out of state, from Missouri, who came to visit and check out the office and see how we run things, and really like the fact that we have our dedicated space for our for the podcasting, for the videos. We have the admin, the other office. So, like, so much can be done in one space which is a huge benefit. But you're not going to get that with just
the coolest
everybody.
thing is that the brokerage that we're with now, that anybody that we bring into the brokerage, is not only do they get the free coaching through us, and really we get to help them out with their business, is that they get to use our space. With the exception of the podcast table. It's like that's kind of our little domain that's hands off, because the equipment's so expensive. We're using a little bit better equipment than when we first started off, right?
Yeah, I've had a couple of comments where people are like, "Dang, you're using all that?" And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you just went all in for it. Like, well, yeah, we don't understand moderation very well.
Yeah, truthfully, you can do a podcast off your iPhone and your earbuds.
Yeah.
You really can. And so, we went all out. We wanted a more professional setting. So when we did have guests in, we could attract bigger guests. Yeah. We could attract people that are influencers in the real estate space that we really like to interview. And when they come in here, they feel the professionalism, it's painted well. You've got the green screen, you've got all the studio lighting, you've got the whiteboard that's, always full of solid quotes and ideas for the next podcast. It's a very professional setting. Yeah. And so that's the benefit you get through us doing that stuff, but jump off track there a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's some of the stuff you can that you need to look for in a brokerage. If you if you have aspirations, which is one of, like we've mentioned this several times, this is one of the things I really liked about this team is, while we were not doing it then, or you guys weren't doing it then, obviously to this extent, this is the path, where it was going.
Right.
That's what I wanted. The ability to do more things. So if you have any idea that you want to do that or be around these type of things, ask them, see if anybody is doing that, see if that's the path or ability to help you as an agent. A ton
of the younger agents coming into the space, and the cool thing about real estate is that you can come in the space whenever. You can come in as an 18-year-old, and you can come in as a 68-year-old, a 78-year-old, an 80-year-old, just really kind of, you can come into the space whenever. I won Rookie of the Year at 40 years old, and that was part of my speech, was like, I love real estate because, where else can you go at 40 years old and be a rookie of anything, be the Rookie of the Year at anything, right? And so real estate gave me that opportunity, and people only know that, how successful that you are, off of really what you put out there, and so, to circle back to your point, which was what?
When you're asking questions and you're understanding the cost and benefit of a broker, whether it's supposed 1% or 100%, or the fees that you're going to pay, splits, however it breaks down, it only matters if it benefits you in your goal and where you're going. Like, you should be training heavy brokerage, or at a training heavy brokerage when you're starting out. There's certain things that shouldn't matter. Like, your splits shouldn't matter as much if you're getting a quality training and ability to grow and develop as an agent.
I think people put splits and they put money before they put the experience and the knowledge that they need to gain first.
100%.
And the younger agents, definitely, they beat on their chest a little bit and they come in here, and I did the same thing. So, I just thought that I had, typically we all think we always have it figured out, right? Mm-hmm. And so from the outside looking in, this business looks like it's fast cash, like it's easy. And you just are really under the impression that everybody's going to do business with you. And it's a cold, hard reality when you find out after 6 months and you're blowing through all your savings and you didn't ask these questions and see what the fees were about. Or the broker didn't tell you that, to join my brokerage, you're going to need at least about $1,000 of just fees and other BS to get by. Mm-hmm. Right, for the next 6 months to a year, before we really start getting you deals. But what we're here to do is to get you into action, within 30 to 90 days is what our goal is. If your broker doesn't have a plan for you to get into instant success, go ahead and give them a fist bump and get out of that office as fast as possible. What are you smiling over there about?
I was told to have about 3 months of savings when joining a brokerage, but that was in my mind 3 months of bills and 3 months of mortgage payments, and not all these fees and training courses and classes and
they nickel and dime the hell out of you,
right?
And so the broker really doesn't, in my opinion. So I might piss some brokers off here. They don't really care. They just kind of throw you against the wall to see if you stick, and if a broker doesn't have a good action plan for you, like I mentioned, to get you into that 30, 60, 90 days of immediate production, and you're not walking in, brokers are also, a lot of times they're wanting you to come in because most agents, the number is, let's do 80-20 again. 80% of the agents entering into the business have a deal attached to them already. A family member, a friend, a coworker from maybe the job that they're leaving or the job that they're moonlighting from part-time as a realtor, coming in is going to do a deal with them. They're going to buy or they're going to sell, and, maybe sometimes a lease or something like that. However, think about that. And so if the property, if the average property is $300,000, I'm winging it here, so hold on my math. Is $300,000, and you recruit, say, so that's a $9,000 commission. Just say that, right? So I should probably whip out my calculator here, but let's just say $9,000. Let's go with even numbers. It's a $10,000 commission, right? And you recruit 20 agents a year in that bring in one deal at $300,000 plus dollars, $350,000. That makes it a $10,000 commission. How much money is that? That's $200,000 gross, right? So 1 times 2 is what? So that's what? $20,000? Yes. Yeah. So that's $20,000 in broker's fees right off the bat that they're getting off that 10. And my math's probably wrong, but I think you get my
Close
point.
enough.
You get the gist of the conversation. Ask about that. But really just try to put it into perspective when you're going to interview a broker. Remember, you're interviewing a broker. They are not interviewing you. Any broker out there, and especially a smaller firm that is interviewing you, more than likely is putting on a good front, but they need you worse than you need them. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Sorry, brokers, but it's true. It's very, very true.
That's why you start putting your name in some of those major websites about recruiting or about careers, and then your phone just starts blowing up. Especially as a new agent. Yep.
And so with the broker too, is say they have one broker. I don't know what the standard is. I don't know, for like every 20 agents, you should have a broker or broker associate, but that's a good question to ask, like what's your broker to agent ratio?
Yeah.
That's a good one. And so, I mean, if you have a brokerage of 100 people and there's one broker, it's like EXP. There's one broker for the state, but then I know that there's territories out there where it breaks the other brokers down. And so I know that we had a question for a broker and we got someone immediately, and then our local broker called us as well. So that was kind of cool, and so I would love to know the ratio or how many brokers we have, but I believe it's a good amount, and they're compensated for it. So it's well worth them to be part of the brokerage program at EXP, which is kind of cool. I can't read what's after that. Access to biological nuclear warfare. What does that say?
You have access to the broker at odd hours and weekends.
Odd hours and weekends.
That's normally when you have a question that needs to be answered.
That was the kiss of death. That was the kiss of death with my first brokerage, was that I was under the impression, and it was my perception, that the broker was never around, and then they hired Steve as the sales manager, and Steve was pretty much always around. However, he wasn't the broker. Right. And so he could answer questions, but he's got a life as well. I wanted to talk to the broker a few different times when I did need, like if I want to talk to a broker, back then, like I knew it was a problem. Right. So you knew it was serious if I wanted to talk to a broker, because I can usually figure it out. I have Google, I learned how to write a contract through, really the first time was studying the contract a bunch of times and then watching some guy that actually did a Texas 1-4 contract online and walked you through it from A to B. And I sat there and wrote my offer with him. And I don't know if I've ever told that story, but you two trained me. I'll always say that because my broker dropped the ball on that.
I jumped on YouTube a few times.
Oh yeah, I still do. I still find great, abundant information on there. However, I can never get that person on the phone. I can never, even text would come in, oh, so sorry, I didn't see this text. And it's just like, man, if you're like anybody else and you walk around the office, and I know who you are, broker, and you're walking around the office.
Glued to your phone.
Your phone never leaves your hand 5 days a week that I see you. You're telling me on the weekends, you didn't touch your phone for 24 hours. I call BS, And so it was just, and I'm sure she was being bombarded with people, now that I look back and see how many people need the broker, I'm more than likely certain about it that she was getting, my text wasn't the only one coming in that day.
Probably not.
So, you got anything to add to that, homie? That's you, Marshall.
No, I think I already said it. We had an issue earlier, and I reached out to the broker and got it right away. And like you said, the other broker called just about 10 minutes after that. So I've had great response times here.
Yeah. Here being what?
EXP.
EXP what?
Realty.
There you go.
Some before, like I mentioned before, is that I never even met the broker from the last place we came to.
Yeah.
Or came from.
Yeah. Well, we did. She's a great person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never really needed her much. So typically we can, at this point in our careers, we can answer everything that needs to come in. A lot of times if we're seeking broker help, it's for validation.
Right.
It's just to make sure and clarify, like, hey, look, this is exactly
we're on the same page, right?
Yeah, because once you read that contract over and over, and especially any kind of addendums or financing addendums and things like that, once you read it 4 or 5 times, you've done confused yourself, And so clarification from a broker. And the funny thing is we got 2 different responses.
Right.
However, in the end, circling back, it works out to be the same. One was just a little bit more optimistic than the other one, right? And so, and that's the way we approach things anyway, optimistic. So we're going to go with what the one broker said because it was more positive. Marketing. So what are you asking the broker? Like, what's your marketing?
Yeah, they're going to do anything for you? They're going to give you any kind of marketing, any access to marketing, flyers? I mean, how are you going to go about that?
Yeah, more than likely, smaller brokerages don't necessarily do that. Marketing costs money, and so they might provide you with some materials or some things that worked in the past. I know that we were handed some templates for postcards and things like that. The first brokerage I joined was.
I think I see some out there that are running Facebook ads for their new agents and for their listings and stuff like that. So they do some marketing for them.
Right, but do you see any smaller brokerages doing that? Because those are the ones I see are the bigger name brokerages that can really afford that and really trying to push value and recruit high numbers.
There's some brokerages that are larger ones that are that do the marketing for the brand, not for the agent. Mm-hmm. So they don't have they're not going to kick any money towards your marketing.
Right. Well, that's one thing that led to one of these, the amount of marketing the brokerage does to promote the brokerage and bring in leads, then the leads get assigned to you in a round robin more than likely, or you're able to work phone duty if the call to action is to call on the phone, or if you're with a big enough brokerage, there's a ton of, that was one that's left off up here. Do you have an opportunity for something like phone duty? Not a lot of people know what that is, especially that nobody wants to touch their phones. It's like, do you have an opportunity for text duty? And so the phone duty is when people are basically driving around and they see the broker signs. There's a lot of brokers out there that don't allow agents to change the information on the sign. Mm-hmm. It's this is your broker. This is the number. All leads that come in, come to the brokerage and are answered by a general number that's usually manned by a rookie agent, or not even rookie agent, but,
and as a new agent also, I mean, you don't have your signs yet, more than likely. You haven't bought any yet.
Right.
And so you're using the company generic signs and they're getting the lead back.
I'm trying to scratch the surface here of why I joined that first brokerage in the first place. And that was it, was that they provided lock boxes. They provided signs. They gave me the opportunity to do basically no out-of-pocket costs, when other places that we ended up going to had an out-of-pocket cost at first. And I was trying to minimize all those costs because, gas was $3.50 a gallon. I was driving a big Dodge truck. I had just paid a bunch of money for real estate school and prep classes and everywhere I was turning. Then I got to join the board. Then I got to buy the MLS. Then I got to buy my super key, just all these expenses.
Clothes to look the part.
Yeah. And hindsight's 2020, this is still the lowest startup business you could possibly be in, where you can actually own your own company, own your own business. It's the lowest startup. You can get into real estate for under $3,000. Yeah. However, a lot of times people don't have that. On top of the $3,000 for that, if you've got a mortgage and you've got car payments and you've got kids and you've got all that stuff, $3,000 goes a long way, And so once you spend that $3,000 to get into the business, and then now the brokerage you're joining, has fees attached to it also. And then by the end of that, you're going to take more fees for a mentor. You're going to take more fees for, all this other stuff. And then when you hand me leads because I joined you, you're going to take 50%, you're going to take an extra 20% off the top. I like I said, that one doesn't bother me that much. Just because it's business and it's going to give you experience at a reduced rate, you're just going to make a little bit less. However, once you go out, you know how to procure your own leads and you see what it takes to bring in your own people. That's when you get to up your commission, right? Yep. So, CRM, customer resource management manager.
Yep.
Whichever. I don't know many brokerages that provide that. I know that now that's the big game is that a lot of big brokerages have partnered with somebody, which are air quotes, calling them bolt-on technology. And I know that Keller Williams is designing their own or really going through the process of becoming a tech company and providing all this great tech out there that no opinion. I'll back off that. Anyway, that's what a CRM is. However, there's plenty of CRMs that if you don't join a brokerage or if they don't provide one that are very cost effective. There's one called Realty Juggler that used to be $99. I hear they're $199 now, but has everything out there that these high dollar CRMs have, and it's a really good one. So look into that if you're looking for a CRM. If you're with a smaller brokerage that doesn't provide anything right there, check out the Realty Juggler. We could probably drop a little post about them on Top Shelf Agents Network over there on Facebook. If you're not a part of that group, don't forget to sign up about that. And then, so website would fall under marketing, in my opinion, right? Or are you talking about single agent website?
Single agent
website. So Playster, I know that Keller Williams provided Playster for quite some time. And then, we're with EXP now. They have the KV Core website, which is phenomenal. Awesome. One of the most, it's, we've tried out some of the best, we've tried out Boomtown. We've tried out, what's it called?
It's the only thing that I've wowed at lately. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Such a great package. It has
me renewed to be an agent. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, like I started sending, I ran an ad yesterday, completely organic. I didn't tell you guys this.
You got 68 shares.
No, that was a video. That was a video. But an ad brought in 3 people where I was just the hashtag in it to file it.
It was under an hour, wasn't it?
Was test. I was like, this is a test ad, and all I did was post it, and it brought in 3 people.
And that was under an hour.
Yeah. And so I was like, ooh, this is pretty cool.
The first one came in when we were testing something else, another ad we were running that I signed up for.
That's pretty powerful.
Like,
and the cool thing is you get that, there's a tech fee assigned to it. I don't know what it is. I'd have to check, but there's a tech fee assigned to that. However, that's a tool that you get is more of a, it's not even a watered down version. It's more of a condensed version of conversion, which is KV Core is what they call it. And that thing, like I wasn't sold on, we weren't even using it for the first month.
Right.
And I just decided to get in there and start playing around and take the training on it because I really had nothing to do the other day. And then I was kind of, Marshall, get in here, And so you got to see this. Melanie, get in here. Everybody get in this room and look at all this cool stuff this thing does. And I was blown away by it. And I just kind of like, who cares if it's bolt-on technology? That's what it keeps being sold at as under the pissing contest between Keller Williams and EXP. And the conversations I'm seeing online is that, you guys don't own your technology though. So what?
Neither do the agents.
Yeah. And so you don't own Command, do you? You don't own anything from Keller Williams, do you? So what's the argument there? Please send me an email and tell me where I'm off on this. It's info@realestateontherocks.com. I would love to have continue the pissing contest.
Here come the flood.
Yeah, here we go. And so referral network, what's that about?
I guess if the brokerage you join is have a large reach with the brand, are people going to be sending you referrals at all? Do they know who you are?
Okay. And you can speak to that because why?
I do a lot of referrals.
I know you do. And let's talk about that real quick. The majority of the stuff that you do is through agent to agent, correct?
Yes.
And then it's through, is it same broker or not necessarily all the time?
Well, it was the same broker, but since we switched now, it's kind of changed things up a little bit.
Right. And you're still in those other referral groups with that old broker?
I'm still in communication with all the old people that I was referring to.
And so you provided so much value that they're still sending you referrals and you're still sending them referrals. I know I just signed one going out to Dallas.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. If you'd like to talk more about how to build a referral network, we can certainly do another show on that, but you can reach out to Marshall. It's the same place. info@realestateontherocks.com.
So people really care when they're sending out a referral what brokerage you're with. So you really got to show them the value and talk to them. But when they're receiving it, they don't care.
Right. I received a referral nod from somebody very high up in EXP, and I was impressed. I was like, oh, wow. That's cool that this person's referring me out against some pretty big names in the business, And so my thing is I live in the neighborhood, I live here, and who knows it best? Some of the other agents they're from here also, but they lived in different parts of town. I actually live
You're the local
the
expert.
Same area. I'm a hyper local
expert.
I love that. Hyper local. All right. And so what's that last one right there?
Do they provide coaching?
Oh, yeah. So that's always a cool one. It's what do they do for coaching? Because sometimes they don't provide it, but they have an avenue that you can seek it.
And I wouldn't have mind. I mean, at the time when I was a new agent, I signed up for the coaching where they would take a percentage out, and I didn't mind at the time because, hey, I'm going to get some training. I'm going to be able to see what's going on, how to act, and I got a mentor, someone who's helping me out with it. Unfortunately, the value that mentor brought was next to nothing. So I felt that my questions weren't getting answered. I felt like I wasn't learning anything, and they were still expecting the handout. Still expecting the payment.
Yeah. We're just all making friends with this podcast. I think that person who you just spoke about listens. Anyway, so yeah. Hey, how are you? Hope things are going good out of real estate. No, just kidding. But yeah, coaching is an important one. There's coaches everywhere you turn these days. There's the TF guy, there's Tim and Julie Harris. There's coaching wherever you seek it. This day and age, in the information age, you can seek coaching anywhere. There's somebody out there coaching, telling you how to do the things. If you need one-on-one coaching, I don't think a lot of people, when they're first starting out in their careers, need that. They need more of a guidance. More of a general coach telling them go this direction versus a one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Yes.
Or disagree?
Yeah, it depends on the person, but yeah, group coaching and general guidance is definitely helping, or is a huge help. But also the backup of the, hey, I actually have a question. Like I really legitimately need information,
right? To
not just send a message out, which I'd done a couple times. Send a message out, no replies, just crickets. It's like, dang it.
Oh yeah, I'm a certified coach, and I enjoy coaching, and I love getting people into action. I absolutely love it. One of the highlights of my day is when like James joined the team, and I think he certainly thought that it was going to be easier for him. I'm going to talk about you.
He brought his California flavor.
Yeah, it was going to be easier for him, and he didn't have a sphere, and he just didn't know the next steps to take, even though he was on a team prior, and nothing was wrong with that team. They're a pretty damn good team, and they had a good team leader. However, I think there was some obstinance there from James, or some reluctance to get into action. And so maybe those personalities didn't mesh over there to where you could put James into action. And when I interviewed James to bring him in and decided to give him an offer to come on in, you can speak to this, but I thought that we had meshed, and James, I knew, was a military man. He needed some structure. Most people do need some structure. If you're just left to run around the office and it's all up to you, a lot of times, I could do that. My personality can do that. I don't think James's could figure it out. James can probably figure out 1,000 more things better than I can. However, real estate seemed to hinder him a little bit. Am I fair assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not to talk bad or anything like that, but it's just like you needed to be told A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, do these steps right here, and then do them consistently over and over and over and over again, and you'll start seeing some success, right? And I don't think a broker, no matter what you pay them or anything else, is actually going to sit there and take the time to do that. And so that's why I'm a big proponent of teams, is like join a team for at least a year. Joining a team is not signing your death certificate in the business. A lot of people look at it as like, oh, if I join a team, I'm going to be giving up this. If you join a team and you're not getting value out of that team, leave them.
Joining a team is like joining a brokerage. You're going to have splits. You're going to have what kind of tools that you offer, right. Mojo, CRM, and all that stuff. So it's kind of like joining a mini brokerage.
Right. at a less scale,
Right.
Like, and so it's in the best interest of the team leader like myself to make sure that James and Marshall and Jason and Melanie and everybody is successful, right? And everybody, what success looks like to me is that they're doing deals, they're helping more people, they're solving more problems, right? They're getting more people to know, like, and trust them. They're putting themselves out in the market. They're getting comfortable being uncomfortable. They're doing all these things as a whole every single day, and then we start seeing success. I believe as a team leader, it's more important to us because the splits that we do have with you help us bring in more business. And it's a perpetual cycle to put you further into motion. And our deal is on our team is that if in a year or two, if you're not growing with us and you're outgrowing us or whatever else, you can leave. If we're not providing enough value for you, I'll never hold you back from what you're doing. But I think at this point, you guys can speak from experience, is that, we're doing a pretty good job of showing each other value. I get a ton of value from you guys. I learn from you every day. Hopefully you learn from me. We learn from Melanie, today we're learning from Marshall what not to do, in real estate. And so, that's super helpful. That's a learning experience, right? And so we know that we need to pay a little bit closer attention to the stuff. So nothing detrimental. We just know that we need to pay a little bit more attention. So when we have those uncomfortable conversations, they can come off a lot better, right?
Right.
And so, sweet, man. I think we covered this all about this 100% brokerage thing. We kind of go all over the road here. That's just the style of our podcast. We really appreciate you watching soon. We're gonna probably start streaming soon. James just has to get comfortable in front of a camera.
I got to set that thing up.
Yeah. So anyway, if you need us, you can find us at info@realestateontherocks.com. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Michael Harrell, with Guaranteed Rate Mortgage. He is licensed in Texas, California, and Arkansas, or as Marshall likes to say, Arkansas. Sauls. And so if you need us for anything, you can reach out to us at Top Shelf at 88000, or the same code if you're curious about EXP. If you're curious about EXP and what's that brokerage got going on and why that might be different from some of the other brokerages out there that you've spoken with, let us know. We'll have a confidential conversation. Just text me at join EXP at 88000. And actually, I'm going to take it one step further. Call me on my cell phone, or actually probably text me first. It's 512-773-6461. That's my personal cell phone. No BS. Just give me a call if you want to talk anything about business. You're struggling in a little bit in your business, or you don't know what steps to take to keep your career going. Any reason you find in the real estate business that you need help with, give me a call. Or if you want to talk about EXP, 512-773-6461. Peace out.
I'm out.